I'd like to continue then discussing from this book, Mindfulness Meditation for Pain Relief by Jon Kabat-Zinn. We were talking about mindfulness-based stress reduction and the practice of mindfulness. One of the things, so some of the quotes that I pulled out. All right, is mindfulness is the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally to whatever arises in the field of experience. And so that's Jon Kabat-Zinn's definition of mindfulness. Okay, it's a pretty powerful definition there. It's the awareness that arises from paying attention, right? So I've always broken down this definition to 4 individual steps, which is paying attention. 1, paying attention on purpose. 2, paying attention on purpose to the present moment. 3, and paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. 4. That's it. Right. So if we can pay attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment, that is mindfulness. There's an added part here, right, which is to whatever arises in the field of experience, to whatever arises in the field of experience. And so that's pure mindfulness in essence, is that we are paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment to whatever arises. Because whatever arising is the present moment. All right. And that's it. That's it. What happens when we begin this practice is that it's difficult to, or it's a challenge to pay attention to just what's arising in this moment. And what happens is that something arises and then we get caught up in it. We start telling ourselves stories about it. We start making things up about it. We start planning into the future, et cetera, as opposed to just allowing it to arise and then something else to arise and paying attention to that. Then we get lost in thought and we're no longer mindful. We're no longer actually paying attention to the moment, but the moment has, whatever has arisen in our awareness, in our field of experience, has taken over. And we're not aware of that, right? We're not aware of that. And the awareness of that is it's subtle, but very key. Okay. And some people might say, well, what do you mean by that, right? What do you mean by I wasn't aware? Like I was obviously thinking. So I was like, we were lost in thought. When we weren't aware, we weren't paying attention to the thought. We were the thought. It was sort of like the thought arose and we just became so, it essentially like our identification became the thought. We became the thought. And what happened is we just started going down this thinking path, and here's this thought, and we're not aware that we're thinking anymore. And so that's sort of a fine line there, but a very, very important one. Okay. And the analogy that I've given multiple times on this is, if you've never, if we've all been lost in thought. For instance, when we're driving and we're on the freeway, right? Or we're driving, let's say we're on the freeway, and we sort of have that moment where we like shake our head and go, whoa, where was I? Right? Well, there was a part of you that was paying attention to the driving, but there was also a part of you that was so down the rabbit hole of a thought that emerged. It was like, it's like you're figuring out, whatever it is that needs to be figured out at the time. But that you look back and you go, wow, I feel lucky that I didn't get into a car accident. Okay. That's like a pure example of being lost in thought and not being mindful. Not being mindful. You may have even passed the exit on the freeway that you were supposed to get off. Right. So there's no part of you that was mindful of what was actually happening. And we've all had that experience. I mean, I'm guessing 100% of us have had that experience, unless you don't drive. And so that moment that you brought yourself back, you kind of like shook yourself out of it. Wow, where was I? And now you're aware that you're driving again. And you look, you go, oh, I missed my exit. Okay, well, now you're aware that you're driving again. So now mindfulness has come back on board. But then the question is, how quickly does that take you off of, into mindlessness again? Okay. So that's kind of that's kind of like the best example that I can think of, what it is like to be lost in thought and not to be aware of thought, or not to be mindful of the present moment. Okay. This concept of awareness, all right. Awareness is that which we are aware of, right? Is that which is aware. Okay. Awareness provides you with a lot of degrees of freedom in relationship to experience. For one, it can transform your relationship to those very experiences. For instance, if you find yourself in pain at a particular moment, rather than fighting with it or forcing it to go away, can you experiment, even for brief moments, with turning toward it and putting out the welcome mat? Experimenting in a playful and more open, curious way, investigating for yourself what we usually don't pay any attention to at all, but just wall off or reject. So there's a few concepts there that have come up for me more frequently that I think are really powerful. One is obviously turning to it, right? We've talked about that a lot, turning to the pain as opposed to resisting, doing what we always do with it, which is try to get rid of it, turning to it. But experimenting in a playful way. Experimenting in a playful way. And many of you might be like, you're crazy, right? Yes, I am. No. Somebody said, what this whole, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying, this whole thing about life and consciousness, it's really about playing. Like, let's play. Right? And that's really beautiful. Like, we're here to play. And so how can we be more playful with ourselves, with others, with our awareness, with our attention, with our consciousness, with our intentions, right? How can we play? How can we experiment? How can we bring a little bit more just openness to the experience, right? As opposed to be so closed off, walled off, whatever it is, nothing new can happen. My pain is here forever. This sucks, blah, blah, blah. We know as Yolanda likes to call it, right? The wallowing, right? We can all wallow. Right? We can all wallow. In fact, we all do. right? But it's in the times that we actually find ourselves that we're trying to motivate ourselves out of the wallow that we start to change our experience, that we start to learn how to change this experience that we're having. And there is a bit of playfulness, kind of like you're at the park. You're open, but you're doing it with your own intention. You're doing it with your own attention. You're doing it with your own experience. Like, oh, what is this? What is this thing that is arising right now? What is this? Right? Almost like you're like at a drama recital or something right there, right? What is this thing that is appearing in front of me? Oh, it's a thought about how bad I am of a meditator. Whatever it is, right? Ha, look at it. Look at this thought. Okay. And so what awareness allows us to do is be aware. Be aware that we can notice these things that are arising in our field, right? And I like that. I really like that term, field. It is a field, and you could see it in different ways, right? It's field of awareness, field of possibility, field of potentiality, field of whatever you want to call it. Okay. But it's a field that is sort of like, here we are on this field, and the field is this pure awareness. And as we're gazing over the field, it's sort of like, right, we're looking over the field, and the field has this potential to create everything. And here we are as the witness, seeing what arises in the field. Beep, beep, beep. Okay. And imagine, right? Imagine that you are in this field. Imagine as if you're on one of the biggest fields, literal field, like you're in the middle of, I don't know, Nebraska or Montana, and it's just a wide field. It goes for miles. You can't even see the end of it. And you're standing in the field. You're actually standing in the field. And that's witnessing presence. That is witnessing awareness. And your only job is to watch the field. That's it. Just watch it. And what happens in the field? Well, let's say there's nature in the field, right? And then all of a sudden, oh, look, over the right, I see a deer popping up over there. Huh. But we don't then assume that or pretend like we are the deer. We just watch it. And maybe the deer walks across the field and it starts eating, and we're watching it, and that's it. Okay. And then we notice a bunny over on the right that comes up in the field, and it starts hopping away. And then in the field, we notice a bird swooping down and grabbing something and then flying away, flying back up. And then we notice the winds coming, and the wind is making the plants on the field move. And then we notice a bee coming to the field, and butterflies coming to the field. Then we notice flowers that are rising, but we're still in the field just watching, taking it all in, observing. Okay? Here I am, observing this field. Well, that's the exact same analogy as witnessing presence, witnessing awareness, watching the field of our experience as thoughts, emotions, and sensations rise up. Here's the deer. Oh, look, it's a thought. Problem is that we actually think that we create it. right? That like we were so responsible for it, and then we become identified with it. Well, we're not identifying with the deer. We're not identifying with the butterfly. We're not becoming the butterfly. Butterfly is kind of doing its own thing. We're just watching it, right? In fact, if I went to go chase the butterfly would try to get away, right? The more energy I probably gave it or anything like that, the more I'd be scared and kind of go back into hiding. So we're just watching and we let it do its thing. Okay, and with thoughts and emotions and sensations, a lot of times we notice that they are constantly changing. So just like in the field, we're going to notice constant change, and that's exactly what happens then, even in pain, right? But we're doing it in a playful manner, right? Like, oh, look at the butterfly over there. Huh. Look at the bee. Look at the flower blooming. Huh. So fascinating, with like a curiosity, kind of an openness, almost like a little bit of a play, like you're in a park playing with these different things that are appearing. Okay. All right. Like somebody threw you in a sand pit for the first time, and you are exploring, totally open, totally curious, totally playful. Kind of sounds cool. Okay. And so he has this little exercise that we're gonna do a little bit of. And this gets into a little bit of just separating our awareness from anything that appears in our experience. Okay. So as a little exercise, so if you are in pain in this moment, you might investigate right now. So for some of you, this question might be challenging, and that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. For others, the answer is going to come quite quickly. Okay, and this is not something that you actually need to. It's not something that you think about. It's something that you experience, and it's instantaneous. So we're like, oh, that's easy. And if you don't get it, that's perfectly fine. That's where this practice can really help. Okay. So if you don't get this question, that's where this practice can really help. Right. So the question is my awareness of the pain in pain? Is my awareness of the pain in pain? Feel it. Feel what's going on for you. Don't think about it. Just notice whatever is appearing right now for you in this moment. Is that awareness in pain? Is the awareness in pain? And we can broaden this a little bit more. Okay. If you are fearful, is my awareness of fear afraid? Is the awareness of fear afraid? Is your awareness of anger angry? Is your awareness of anger angry? Is your awareness of sadness sad? Is your awareness of sadness sad? the practice that we're going to do today is essentially bringing up, just allowing the present moment experience to be as it is, okay, and asking ourselves, whatever that is, whatever comes up for us, right, as an emotion, a sensation, is the awareness of it sad or scared or in pain or whatever it might be. Okay, so let's go into our practice for today. Okay, so let's find a comfortable posture. A posture you will be relaxed yet alert. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable closing your eyes. If not, having a soft downward gaze. And being able to be here in this moment. Allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to be here now. And taking 2 or 3 deep breaths, and with each in-breath, bringing in the present moment, and each out-breath, seeing if we can release any tension that we feel in our body. Maybe taking some time right now to adjust our posture as our body feels heavier, as our body feels supported by the surface it's on. And just noting your present moment experience. Whatever is arising in this moment, in that field of awareness. Seeing if we can simply notice it, like we're sitting in a long field, noticing the animals, the wind, the butterflies, the bees, the clouds, as they come and go in this field, the thoughts, the emotions, the sensations that appear. Just taking some time to investigate openly, curiously, playfully, these arising moments. Can you notice whatever arises playfully? Can you notice whatever arises openly and curiously? As if you're sitting in a big field and you notice a butterfly coming in, observing it, watching it, exploring how it behaves, as if that butterfly was carrying your thought. As a thought emerges on the wings of the butterfly, simply appearing. We don't identify with it. We don't feel it defines us. Simply a thought on the wings of a butterfly flying around in our field of awareness. Exploring how it behaves, where it goes, openly and playfully. And seeing if we can do this with all of our experience in this moment. Whatever emerges, as if it's emerging on the wings of a butterfly flying around, and us, awareness, witnessing, being aware, noticing. And whatever sensation is arising for you, whether a discomfort, pain, an emotion such as happiness or joy, or sadness or fear, asking yourself, is the awareness sad? Is the awareness in pain? Is the awareness happy? Let's see what happens. Just noticing where we are now. Are we still in the field, paying attention? Or have we wandered off? Have we got caught on the wings of a butterfly and we're no longer in the field? With no judgment, coming back to the field, resting in the field, then noting again what arises for you in this moment. Just as you're gazing out on a field in nature, watching whatever is to occur, arise, and choosing to playfully interact if so desired. And whatever arises, asking yourself, is awareness that thing that is arising for you? Is awareness that thing that is arising for you? There may be some liberation and freedom in the answer. And again, noting what your experience is now, coming back to the present moment, whatever is arising in this field of experience for you, without judgment, doing this practice on purpose, and just seeing what happens. Now, from this field of awareness, bringing your attention to your breath, and just noticing how you are breathing in this moment. If you can, feeling your whole body breathe, your whole body present in this moment. And taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. Opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. Reorienting yourself to your room. Stretching if you feel like you need to stretch. And just taking a moment to reflect on this practice.